Hold on tight, because this is about to get wild. In a jaw-dropping turn of events, Yanel and Meri have just caught Kody and Robyn lying to the judge right in front of everyone. The truth is out, and it's more shocking than anything we've seen before. You won't believe what's been exposed in court today. Let's break it all down. Yanel Brown has always been known as one of the more level-headed and independent wives in the Brown family, but recent events have made it clear that even she is not immune to the overwhelming stress that has come with the collapse of the plural marriage. As tensions continue to rise, Yanel finds herself dealing with an immense amount of extra stress, which has only been exacerbated by ongoing family drama. The past year has been tumultuous for Yanel, who was once seen as Kody Brown's most dependable wife. But after years of feeling neglected and ignored, she finally reached her breaking point. The rift between her and Kody grew deeper, especially after Christine left the family and Yanel began to question whether she wanted to remain in a marriage that no longer served her. It wasn't just about the strained marriage, it was about reclaiming her self-worth and autonomy after decades of compromise. But leaving a marriage of nearly 3 decades is no simple feat, and Yanel has faced an enormous amount of emotional and financial turmoil in the wake of her decision. One of the biggest sources of stress for Yanel has been the financial situation that has plagued the Brown family for years. When Kody legally married Robyn, many of the other wives, including Yanel, expressed concerns about how finances were being distributed. They had long operated under the idea that resources would be shared equally, but it soon became apparent that Kody prioritized Robyn's financial security above the rest. Yanel, who had always been financially responsible and had saved diligently for her future, suddenly found herself at a disadvantage. She had invested heavily in Coyote Pass, believing it would be the key to securing a home for herself and her children, but as time went on, it became evident that Kody had no real intention of following through with their shared dream. Instead, Robyn and Kody settled into their lavish mansion, while Yanel was left trying to piece together a future for herself with limited resources. Her struggles became even more pronounced after the tragic loss of her son Garrison, an event that shook the entire Brown family. Yanel has always been a devoted mother, and the pain of losing a child is something that no parent can truly prepare for. The grief has weighed heavily on her, and the ongoing tension with Kody has only added to her emotional burden. Instead of being a source of support, Kody has continued to distance himself, seemingly more concerned with his relationship with Robyn than with the pain Yanel is enduring. This has only reinforced Yanel's belief that she made the right choice in stepping away from the marriage, but that doesn't mean it has been an easy road to walk. Yanel has been leaning on her close relationship with Christine as a source of strength. The two women, who once shared a complex dynamic within the plural marriage, have formed a deep bond in the wake of their separations from Kody. Christine's newfound happiness with David Woolley has given Yanel hope that there is life beyond the confines of a marriage that no longer serves her. However, seeing Christine move on so seamlessly has also served as a reminder of how much work Yanel still has ahead of her. Unlike Christine, who had a clear vision of what she wanted after leaving, Yanel has found herself struggling to define her next steps. She has always been fiercely independent, but after so many years in a plural marriage, she is now having to navigate life on her own terms, and that comes with its own unique set of challenges. Another major stressor for Yanel has been her complicated relationship with her children and their father. While some of her kids have supported her decision to leave, others have struggled with the fallout. Kody's absence has been particularly painful for some of their children, who feel abandoned by their father. Yanel has tried her best to be the steady force in their lives, but it's an incredible weight to bear alone. She has had to step into both parental roles, offering comfort, stability, and guidance while also managing her own grief and stress. The burden of it all has, at times, felt unbearable, but Yanel has never been one to back down from a challenge. Instead, she has faced every hardship head-on, determined to carve out a new future for herself and her children. Despite everything, Yanel has remained committed to building a new life. She has thrown herself into her business ventures, using them as a way to regain financial stability and independence. She has been focusing on her health, both physical and emotional, recognizing that self-care is essential if she wants to move forward. She has also been open about her struggles, sharing glimpses of her journey with fans who have supported her every step of the way. Her transparency has been inspiring to many, as it shows that even in the face of immense adversity, it is possible to rise above and create a new beginning. The road ahead for Yanel is still uncertain, but one thing is clear: she is no longer willing to put herself last. The extra stress she has been facing is undeniable, but she is proving that she has the strength to weather the storm. As she continues to navigate life beyond Kody, Yanel is showing that she is more than just a former sister wife. She is a woman reclaiming her power, her happiness, and her future. Kody Brown has never been one to shy away from making bold and controversial statements on sister wives, and over the years, his words have often landed him in hot water. Whether it's his views on plural marriage, his treatment of his wives, or his opinions on family dynamics, Kody has made headlines time and time again for comments that have left fans shocked, frustrated, and sometimes even outraged. His blunt, unapologetic nature has contributed to some of the most memorable moments in the show's history, and in many cases, his words have caused deep fractures within the Brown family itself. One of the most contentious aspects of Kody's statements has been his shifting stance on plural marriage. When Sister Wives first began, he painted a picture of a harmonious, loving, and spiritually fulfilling polygamous lifestyle. He often spoke about the blessings that came with having multiple wives, emphasizing that it was a divine calling and a way to build a strong family unit. However, as time went on and cracks in the family began to show, Kody's rhetoric shifted. He began to express doubts about the viability of plural marriage, particularly after Christine left him. At one point, he admitted on the show that polygamy wasn't working for him anymore and that he felt trapped by the expectations it placed on him. This statement alone was enough to send shockwaves through the Sister Wives fanbase, as it contradicted everything he had previously claimed to believe in. His wives, particularly Yanel and Christine, were left stunned by his sudden change of heart, as they had sacrificed decades of their lives to a lifestyle he was now questioning. Kody's views on love and relationships have also led to some of his most controversial statements. He has repeatedly spoken about his struggles with attraction and affection, making comments that have deeply hurt his wives. One of the most infamous moments came when he admitted on national television that he was no longer attracted to Christine. His brutal honesty left Christine heartbroken and ultimately played a role in her decision to leave him. He later doubled down on these comments, claiming that Christine had repelled him by her behavior over the years. Such statements only fueled the narrative that Kody was emotionally neglectful and dismissive of his wife's feelings. His favoritism toward Robyn Brown has also been a major source of controversy. Fans and family members alike have accused Kody of prioritizing Robyn over his other wives, and his words have often reinforced that perception. He has made numerous comments about how Robyn is the only wife who truly respects him and follows his leadership, subtly implying that the other wives have failed him in some way. These remarks have alienated his other wives and children, leading to major conflicts within the family. At one point, he even suggested that the other wives should be more like Robyn if they wanted to have successful marriages with him. This statement did not sit well with Christine, Yanel, or Meri, as it seemed to place the blame for the family's problems solely on them while absolving Kody and Robyn of any responsibility. Perhaps one of Kody's most infamous statements came when he blamed his wives for the failure of their marriages, claiming that they never truly respected or loved him in the way he needed. He has repeatedly said that the reason his relationships fell apart was because his wives did not listen to him or follow his guidance as the head of the family. Such statements have been heavily criticized, as they paint a picture of a man who refuses to take accountability for his own actions. Christine, in particular, has pushed back against this narrative, making it clear that she left not because she failed as a wife, but because she was no longer willing to tolerate a marriage that left her feeling unloved and unfulfilled. Kody's controversial stance on COVID-19 was another major turning point in the family's dynamic. During the pandemic, he implemented strict rules that were meant to keep the family safe, but these rules were seen by many, including his own wives and children, as excessive and unreasonable. He famously refused to visit his older children because he feared they were not following his protocols closely enough. This led to a significant rift between Kody and Yanel's sons, particularly Gabe and Garrison, who felt abandoned by their father. Kody's response to their concerns was cold and dismissive, and he later stated on the show that he didn't care if they were upset with him. This callous remark deeply hurt his children and further solidified the perception that Kody was more concerned with controlling his family than maintaining meaningful relationships with them. Another statement that has haunted Kody is his infamous remark about Meri. After years of tension and emotional distance, Kody admitted that he no longer considered himself married to Meri and that he had no desire to rekindle their relationship. His words were particularly painful for Meri, who had spent years hoping for reconciliation. Instead of offering any hope for their marriage, Kody bluntly stated that he would never be intimate with Meri again, essentially ending their relationship in a public and humiliating manner. This moment was a stark reminder of how little regard he had for Meri's feelings and served as one of the most heartbreaking moments in sister wives history. Kody's comments about fatherhood have also sparked outrage among fans. He has repeatedly suggested that being a father to so many children is a burden rather than a blessing, and he has made statements that imply he feels resentful toward the responsibilities that come with parenting. One of the most shocking moments came when he admitted that he wasn't as involved in his children's lives as he should be, but instead of expressing regret, he seemed to justify his actions by claiming that his wives should have taken on more of the parenting duties. His remarks made it clear that he saw himself as more of a figurehead than an actively engaged father, which only fueled the growing resentment from his older children. Despite all of these controversial statements, Kody has rarely shown remorse for his words. Instead, he has often doubled down, insisting that he is simply being honest and that his wives and children need to accept the reality of their situation. This attitude has made it nearly impossible for him to repair the relationships that have been damaged over the years. His unwillingness to acknowledge his own faults has only pushed his family further away, leading to the collapse of the plural marriage he once championed. As Sister Wives continues, Kody's words will undoubtedly remain a major focal point of the show. His ability to stir controversy is unmatched, and while his statements have often been painful for his family, they have also provided some of the most compelling moments in reality television history. Whether he will ever take responsibility for the impact of his words remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: Kody Brown's most controversial statements will not be forgotten anytime soon. Meri Brown's journey from being a devoted wife in a plural marriage to standing on her own has been nothing short of remarkable. 4 years, she played by the rules set within her polygamous upbringing, trying to fit into a structure that demanded silence, obedience, and submission. But over time, Meri realized that the expectations placed on her were holding her back, and now, she refuses to be silenced ever again. Her experiences growing up in a polygamist family deeply shaped her worldview, but instead of allowing those lessons to keep her in a place of quiet suffering, she has used them to carve a new path for herself, one where her voice is finally heard. Meri was born and raised in a fundamentalist polygamous family, where she was taught from a young age that a woman's role was to be dutiful, supportive, and unquestioning. She grew up believing that plural marriage was a divine calling, something to be embraced despite its challenges. In many ways, she internalized these beliefs, carrying them into her own marriage with Kody Brown. As his first wife, she was initially hopeful about the family they were building together. She believed in the principles of plural marriage and was willing to endure the struggles that came with it, trusting that the rewards would be worth the sacrifices. However, as the years passed, Meri began to see the cracks in the foundation of their family dynamic. One of the hardest things Meri had to face was the realization that her voice mattered less and less within the marriage. Over time, she found herself being pushed to the sidelines, particularly after Kody married his 4th wife, Robyn. The balance of power shifted dramatically, and Meri struggled to find her place in a family that no longer seemed to value her. Instead of standing up for herself, she initially retreated inward, believing that if she just tried harder, things would improve. But they didn't. Her relationship with Kody deteriorated to the point where they were no longer truly husband and wife, despite still being legally married at the time. The breaking point for Meri came when Kody made it clear that he had no interest in repairing their relationship. His words were harsh, his actions even harsher. He publicly admitted that he no longer considered himself married to her, leaving Meri humiliated and heartbroken. But instead of letting that moment destroy her, it became a catalyst for change. She realized that she had been silenced for too long, that she had been living a life dictated by someone else's expectations. It was time to reclaim her power. Meri's decision to step into her own truth wasn't an easy one. She had spent decades believing that her worth was tied to her role as a wife in a plural marriage. Walking away from that meant confronting deeply ingrained beliefs, questioning everything she had been taught, and rediscovering who she was outside of her identity as Kody's wife. It was a painful process, but it was also incredibly liberating. She began speaking up about her experiences, no longer afraid of the consequences. She shared her struggles, her disappointments, and, most importantly, her newfound sense of self-worth. One of the biggest revelations for Meri was recognizing that she had been conditioned to accept less than she deserved. Growing up in a polygamous family had instilled in her the idea that suffering in silence was noble, that endurance was the key to a successful marriage. But as she began to break free from that mindset, she saw the truth. She had every right to demand love, respect, and happiness. She didn't have to settle for a relationship that left her feeling invisible. Her journey toward empowerment has been inspiring to many, especially to women who have found themselves in similar situations. Meri's story serves as a reminder that it's never too late to take control of your own narrative. She has embraced her independence, focusing on her business ventures, personal growth, and building a life that isn't defined by her past. She has shown resilience, refusing to let the pain of her experiences define her. Kody Brown's relationship with Christine was always filled with ups and downs, but as their marriage neared its breaking point, he became increasingly critical of her. One of the biggest accusations Kody hurled at Christine was that she was manipulative and played games in their relationship. He accused her of pouting, throwing temper tantrums, and using emotional tactics to get her way. But looking back, it becomes clear that Kody was being far too hard on Christine, pushing her into a corner with his unrealistic expectations and lack of emotional support. His behavior toward her in the final years of their marriage was not only dismissive but also indicative of his unwillingness to take accountability for his role in their problems. Christine was one of Kody's most vibrant and outspoken wives, often expressing her emotions openly. While this was part of what made her such a beloved figure among fans, it also made her a target for Kody's frustration. He often downplayed her feelings, accusing her of being overly dramatic and difficult to deal with. Rather than acknowledging that Christine had valid concerns, Kody labeled her reactions as manipulation. His tendency to minimize her pain and blame her for their struggles created a toxic environment where Christine felt unheard and unappreciated. It was clear that he had already emotionally checked out of the marriage long before she officially decided to leave. One of the biggest sources of conflict between Kody and Christine was their differing views on intimacy. Christine openly admitted that she no longer felt loved or desired by Kody, but instead of addressing her feelings with compassion, he accused her of playing games. He claimed she was using the lack of intimacy as a power move, rather than acknowledging that she had every right to expect a loving and reciprocal relationship. This gaslighting behavior made Christine feel as though she was the problem when, in reality, she was simply asking for the bare minimum in a marriage. Kody's refusal to meet her emotional needs ultimately solidified her decision to leave. Kody's treatment of Christine in the final months of their marriage was a clear sign that he was more focused on maintaining control than fostering a healthy relationship. He constantly portrayed himself as the victim, insisting that Christine was being unfair and manipulative. However, his words and actions painted a very different picture. He showed little to no empathy for Christine's struggles and instead resorted to belittling her whenever she voiced her frustrations. His accusations of temper tantrums and game playing seemed to be more about deflecting blame than addressing the real issues in their marriage. When Christine finally made the decision to leave, Kody's reaction was telling. Instead of reflecting on what he could have done differently, he lashed out, portraying Christine as the villain. He painted her as someone who was difficult to deal with and who had been scheming to leave all along. This narrative allowed him to avoid taking any responsibility for the collapse of their marriage. But the truth was that Christine had spent years trying to make things work, only to be met with constant rejection and dismissiveness. Her departure was not a calculated move to hurt Kody, it was an act of self-preservation. Christine's decision to move on and eventually marry David Woolley was the ultimate proof that she was not the manipulative person Kody made her out to be. In her new relationship, she radiates happiness and fulfillment, something that was noticeably absent in her final years with Kody. Her ability to thrive outside of polygamy is a testament to the fact that she was never the problem.